Hi there, my name is Courtney. I am a writer and a priestess of the divine feminine. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I started this channel really as a way I wanted to provide information and education to help people connect with deities. As a priestess, I feel like that's my service. My role in the world is to kind of talk about deity worship, how to connect and deepen your connections with your gods and goddesses. And so I love learning mythology and really learning how to connect to that esoteric, to connect to the divine. So today I want to talk about Artemis. Artemis is the Greek goddess of the moon, the hunt, women, and children. And her Roman counterpart is Diana. And I wanted to just share some ways or reasons how you can connect with her, how you can work with her, why you would call on her. I've had a very long relationship with Artemis. She's kind of one of my go-to deities. Artemis to me represents the archetypes of the maiden, the huntress, and the wild woman. Um, as a goddess of the hunt, of the wilderness, right? She lives up in the mountains, she lives in the forest, she lives in the wilderness. She's completely submerged and surrounded by nature. And one of the biggest ways to connect with her is to get outdoors, to get in nature. I wish I was filming this outside right now, but it's like 110 degrees and I didn't want to be sweating during this video. So um Artemis helps us kind of reconnect with nature, deepen our relationship with nature, understand it a little bit more. Um, a great way to honor her is to be an environmentalist, right? To be an activist for nature, to not only do little things like recycle to honor her, getting outside, creating an altar for her outside is probably the best thing you could do if you can make space like in your backyard or it doesn't have to be this elaborate thing. But Artemis as the huntress, obviously, you can gather like if you have access to like some antlers or like even just I don't know, acorns or pine cones or just something that you find in nature and build like a little nature altar to her. I think would be really great. Obviously, make it biodegradable. Don't include items that aren't found in nature. Um, just obviously being environmentally conscientious of that. Um, I think a lot of us get disconnected because we live in cities, right? Or where we're constantly surrounded by pavement and roads and we don't have that connection with nature. And so if you're unable to go outside and create an altar with her, if you're unable to go for a hike in the woods, if you live in the city, even just going to a park or even just bringing the indoor or the outdoors inside, um, having some plants in your house, just bringing that element um, can also help you just kind of connect with her and honor her in that way. Um, Artemis is also the protector of women and children. When she was born, her mother Leto had to flee to an island, so Hera, um, you know, basically didn't come after her. So Artemis is the twin to Apollo. Artemis is the goddess of the moon, Apollo, god of the sun. And when Leto was giving birth, Artemis was born first, and she noticed how distressed her mother was in childbirth. And so Artemis, newly born, fresh god, fresh out of the womb, turned around and helped. She was her mother's midwife, helped her mother deliver her twin Apollo. For this reason, she is a protector of women and children. She's the goddess of midwifery. Um, Recently, with the overturning of Roe versus Wade, I shared a post on Instagram on goddesses who to call for justice and protection of women. And Artemis Diana, right there at the top. She's a great one for justice, right? She can be vengeful. Just look at the story of Artemis and Actaeon. Actaeon was a hunter. He was out in the wilderness hunting with his men and his dogs, and he came across Artemis and her band of nymphs bathing in the water there. And she basically, to protect the women and their sanctity and because they had been exposed to this man, she turned him into a stag, and then he was then hunted by his own dogs. Um, So she is extremely fierce and loyal to women. And I think as a feminist, she is a great goddess to work with, right? And also to heal our relationship with women, right? I think a lot of us, growing up in like middle school, high school, like it's just a weird time. And there can be a lot of sister wounds that occur. Girls turning their backs on each other, name calling, and, you know, we can have sister wounds, basically, right? We've been betrayed by other women. Um, and so healing that wound, Artemis is also a great one to work with, because to me, Artemis is all about collaboration over competition, right? Yes, she's a huntress. Yes, she's competitive. Yes, she's fierce, but it is that sister loyalty, because she only lived with women, right? She had a band of nymphs that she lived with. There were no men in her village. There were no. She didn't really interact with, like, she's not noted to have any lovers, basically. She remained sovereign. She was a virgin goddess, meaning she, not virgin in like the sexual sense, but she kept her autonomy. She remained sovereign unto herself. No man had any claim or power over her, which in ancient Greece is kind of a huge thing. Um, when women didn't have the right to vote, women couldn't own land. So for her to be like, okay, Zeus giving her the power to make her own decisions and be the ruler of her own life was kind of a big deal. Only her and Hestia really were the only, oh, and Athena. Artemis, Hestia, and Athena were the three sovereign virginal goddesses in Greek mythology. Another time you want to work with Artemis is when you have big goals, or dreams, basically. She is goddess of the hunt. To me, she carries her silver bow and arrow. And to me, she kind of helps us to aim for that goal. She gives us that focus as a huntress. And this is something that I write about in my book, Feminine Archetypes. With the role of the huntress, with that archetype, it is all about aiming for the end, right? Aiming for the target, aiming for the goal. And Artemis's aim never misses. And whenever we have something that we want to accomplish, um, she is always the one by my side to remind me of that goal. I'm even wearing my little Artemis charm right now, my pendant, because I'm writing my third book, and I am just like, my goal right now is just to complete it, right? Complete the first draft, just get there. And then, then it'll be edits and publishing later, but it's just getting to that target, making that mark, and carrying her with me and having that constant reminder, like, this is what you set out to do and you're going to do it, right? She gives us that determination. She gives us that perseverance. She gives us that focus and that drive to complete the tasks that we need to in order to get where we want to go. So Artemis for me is a huge like goal getter, right? I just always imagined her with that like bow and arrow and just completely like focused. She's like Merida and Brave. She's just like, she's so determined to beat all the other guys and to hit every single bullseye. And that's actually great um, pop culture like embodiment of Artemis is Merida. Probably why I like Brave so much. So yeah. Another time you want to work with Artemis, as goddess of the moon, she is a great one to help us connect with our own cycles and patterns. And again, this kind of ties back to that first one, connecting with nature and like the seasons of nature. Also connecting with our own seasons, right? Connecting with our own lunar cycles, kind of like connecting with our menstrual cycle, whatever it may be for you. She kind of helps us get into sync and to recognize our patterns, because there's always a time, right? We can't always be in expansion. There is a contraction. There needs to be time for rest. And in a culture where it's just go go go, like hustle, always focused, always driven, right? Always seeking the next thing. um like this dichotomy, like there's also time for integration and relaxation and just honoring that part of ourselves that needs that. So I also wanted to share with you today, in case you haven't seen, I also have an Artemis. This is my Goddess Grimoire page. These are available on my Etsy shop. This is a great reference sheet for your Book of Shadows, for your grimoire. It has a list of her symbols and also offerings for her, and a little prayer that you can use just to kind of help deepen your connection. I also just want to mention whenever you are building a relationship with a god or goddess, it's extremely personal. You don't have to listen to me and go strictly based off of like the symbols and offerings like this, right? Use your intuition whenever it comes to building an altar or saying a prayer, an invocation, whatever. I think the more personal you can make it, the more powerful and deeper your connection can be. So always use something like this or any blog post you see on Artemis as like a stepping stone, like a jumping off point, but always make your relationship um, personal. Because I see so many people out there like, how can I do this? And they think that they have to follow everything by the book, but really your intuition is your greatest teacher and your best guide to show you how to do those things. So, just my little disclaimer there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.